Imagine that everything you've ever sought is already within you. We were taught to look outside ourselves, to chase achievements and approvals. But what no one ever told you is that this endless chase might be pulling you further away from what truly matters. It's as simple as it is revealing. Listening to your inner voice. On this journey, you will discover how the ancient practices of Zen can unlock the silent power within you. Prepare yourself, for what you are about to learn here may completely transform the way you live. High up in the silent mountains, where the wind whispered ancient secrets, lived the venerable Master Chun, a man of few words but of profound wisdom, which seemed to flow from the very ground beneath his feet. The inhabitants of that remote village, surrounded by towering nature, knew he was no ordinary monk. His presence carried generations of teachings, passed down with patience and compassion, guiding lost souls toward the discovery of their own inner voices. He was a beacon for those searching for something beyond the ordinary. For many years, those with restlessness in their hearts climbed the steep paths to the monastery, drawn by Master Chun's reputation. It was not a search for quick answers, but for deeper understanding, something that could only be found by listening to one's own spirit. People from different places came seeking this insight, the secret to achieving what they called self-discovery. Every conversation, every silence beside the master was an opportunity for the awakening of a new consciousness. Master Chun's reputation did not come from easy advice, but from the way he guided each person toward their own truth. He believed that true understanding was only accessible when one let go of the mind's haste and immersed in mindfulness. Each visitor became their own journey, a unique path. But this story does not begin with ready-made answers. It begins with a young man in search of something greater, something he couldn't yet name. Kaido was a young man, like many of us, burdened with doubts and uncertainties, but with a deep desire to find his way. He had heard of Master Chun, of his legendary ability to guide people in hearing their own inner voices. Tired of seeking answers from the outside world, Kaido decided it was time to look within. He climbed the mountains, enduring physical exhaustion and the turmoil of his mind, hoping to uncover the mystery that had transformed so many lives. When he arrived at the monastery, he was greeted by a welcoming silence and the serene figure of Master Chun. With few words, the master knew that true wisdom did not come from long speeches, but from the simplicity of the present moment. Kaido didn't quite know what to expect, but something inside him told him he was in the right place. He was there to learn something that couldn't be found in books or in the words of others. What he sought was the secret to hearing his own essence, the self-discovery that so many yearned for. Master Chun looked at him with a gentle smile and invited him to stay. He knew that Kaido, like many others, was trapped in the confusion of his own thoughts, seeking externally what could only be found within. This search for an internal truth, the secret to following his inner voice, would be the foundation of Kaido's journey. But like all good masters, Chun knew that this discovery would only come with time and the practice of true mindfulness. Kaido was about to understand this. Master Chun, in his silent wisdom, did not begin with words, but with a simple instruction: observe. He led Kaido to the monastery window, from where a vast garden, full of life and colors, could be seen. There, Kaido was to sit quietly, without haste, simply witnessing what unfolded before him. Every movement, every detail. Chun knew that the first step in hearing the inner voice was learning to observe the outer world calmly, without judgment. Kaido, without question, nodded and began his exercise. As Kaido sat by the window, something began to change. He noticed how every element in the garden had its role. Birds flitting from branch to branch, leaves falling softly to the ground, butterflies dancing in the light air. There was a natural harmony that went beyond the young man's restless mind. And in that moment, he began to experience a glimpse of the peace that so many sought. The garden, with its silent cycle, showed him the simplicity of existence and how, by observing, one could learn more about oneself than imagined. Gradually, Kaido realized that the exercise wasn't just about the garden. It was about learning to see life as it is, without the constant interference of thoughts and emotions. Every element he saw reflected the tranquility he needed to cultivate within himself. The secret lay in looking beyond the surface, and the garden was the perfect teacher for this. It was mindfulness in action, where every detail of nature revealed a fragment of the peace that we all carry, but so rarely access. After the observation exercise, Master Chun sat beside Kaido and, with a calm gaze, began to tell a story. It was about a young monk, not unlike Kaido, who had also faced the challenge of hearing his own inner voice. The young monk, though diligent in his practices and meditation, found himself constantly engulfed in confused thoughts and turbulent emotions. He sought answers, but the more he searched, the more distant they seemed. This was a common dilemma, and Chun knew well how to approach it.
The monk's master led him to a nearby cave, where there was a small, clear pool of water. There, he asked the monk to carefully observe the surface of the water and describe what he saw. The monk noticed his own reflection, the shadows of the surrounding rocks, and the flickering light of their torches. That was all he could see, nothing more. The master then instructed him to close his eyes and listen to the sounds around him. The monk heard the gentle dripping of water, the distant echo of their voices, and the soft whisper of the wind. But still, he found no answers. It was then that the master asked the monk to open his eyes again. This time, as he looked into the depths of the water, the young monk saw something different. Beneath the calm surface, there were shimmering fish darting between the rocks and submerged plants. The master explained that the pool was like his mind. The surface represented his thoughts and emotions, always in motion. But it was necessary to learn to see beyond that, to discover what was truly hidden in the depths, a reflection of the self-discovery he sought. A simple, yet powerful metaphor. The metaphor of the pool was clear, but powerful. The surface, always in motion, represented the thoughts that race endlessly in our minds, the emotions that sometimes cloud our perception. Like the young monk in Master Chun's story, it's easy to become fixated on these surface reflections, believing that's all there is. However, true wisdom, the essence of Buddhist teaching, lies in knowing that much more exists beneath that restless surface, waiting to be discovered. The hidden world beneath the pool, full of life and beauty, was a representation of what lies in the depths of each person's mind. The challenge, however, was clear. To access this depth, one must learn not to be distracted by the illusory reflections of thoughts and emotions. Just as the waters reveal their clarity when still, our minds too need quietness to reveal what is most valuable, the inner voice. The process of self-discovery requires this discipline of looking beyond distractions. Master Chun taught that this practice wasn't simple, but entirely possible. And the pool, with its secret world, served as a constant reminder that what we see on the surface is rarely all there is. By looking beyond the distractions of daily life, we can begin to hear the subtle whispers that come from deep within us, the silent guide that can only be heard when we manage to calm the storm of the mind. Kaido was beginning to understand this, and his journey was just beginning. Master Chun knew that the mind, when agitated, is like a stormy sea, impossible to see its depths. He explained to Kaido that, to hear his inner voice, the first step was to calm his mind. The practice of mindfulness, the act of being present, was essential. When the mind quiets, it stops reacting to every thought, emotion, or external distraction. And in this state of calm, one can begin to perceive the subtle messages that come from within. The practice of mindfulness wasn't just about meditating for hours, but about observing the present moment without attaching to the thoughts that arise. Imagine your mind as the sky, the master said. Thoughts are like passing clouds. They come and go, but the sky remains the same, always vast, always present. It was an invitation for Kaido to experience stillness in every aspect of his life, not just during formal meditation, but in the small pauses of everyday life, where he could observe, breathe, and truly be present. As Kaido applied this practice, he began to notice that his mind was more peaceful than he had imagined. The chaos and agitation that once seemed constant now gave way to moments of clarity. It wasn't easy, but little by little, he understood the value of cultivating this tranquility. When the mind calms, self-discovery becomes inevitable because the noise that once blocked his deepest perceptions starts to fade away. And in that silence, what was once hidden begins to emerge. As Kaido deepened his practices, something remarkable began to happen. He learned to observe his thoughts without being swept away by them, as if watching clouds drift across the sky. Instead of identifying with each emotion or thought that arose, he let them pass, without judgment. This process brought a lightness he had never experienced before. It was as if, for the first time, he was seeing the world clearly, without the constant filters of worry or anxiety. Kaido also began to realize that, over time, his mind became quieter. Amidst this calm, he could hear a soft voice that had once been drowned out by the noise of his own thoughts. It was his inner voice, the same one Master Chun had mentioned from the beginning. This was the true secret of Buddhist teaching. It wasn't about eliminating thoughts, but learning to live with them without being dominated, allowing inner wisdom to emerge naturally. With each passing day, Kaido felt more in tune with himself. His decisions became clearer, his actions more aligned with his deepest aspirations. The progress he was making wasn't only visible to him, but also to those around him. He had become a more centered, more attentive, and, above all, more peaceful person. And the path continued, for self-discovery is an endless journey, where each day brings new insights. Master Chun, with his unshakable wisdom, always believed that true happiness could not be found in external things. He taught that happiness, in fact, arose when one lived in harmony with their essence. It was a serene joy, a tranquility that didn't depend on fleeting circumstances or the pursuit of external validation. Kaido began to realize that the peace he was experiencing by listening to his inner voice was a glimpse of this authentic happiness. This happiness is not the momentary ecstasy that comes and goes with material achievements, but rather a deep sense of contentment that lies beyond superficial thoughts and emotions. When Kaido stopped searching for answers outside himself and learned to listen to the quiet within his mind, he began to understand that true happiness was tied to balance. It wasn't about avoiding life's ups and downs, but about finding internal stability, regardless of what was happening around him. Living in harmony with oneself, as Master Chun taught, was the key to lasting peace. This meant aligning actions, choices, and thoughts with one's deepest values. Kaido finally understood that the endless pursuit of external happiness was a trap. True happiness had been within his reach all along. He just needed to listen to what his essence was trying to tell him. And so, self-discovery revealed that inner harmony was the gateway to genuine happiness. Master Chun used to say that true happiness isn't something we achieve through the approval of others or the superficial goals we set for ourselves. He taught the importance of living in alignment with our deepest values, those that resonate with our essence and purpose. For Kaido, this was a revealing lesson. He had spent so much time trying to meet external expectations, seeking success and validation, that he had forgotten to ask himself what truly mattered. It was a process of self-discovery that completely shifted his perspective. As Kaido delved deeper into this new understanding, he realized that many of his previous desires weren't truly his own. They came from outside, from societal pressures, from comparisons with others. Now, he began to make choices aligned with what truly mattered to him, and this brought a new sense of freedom. When you live according to your own values, there is an inner harmony that no material success can offer. The practice of mindfulness helped him identify these values and distance himself from external distractions. Following this path, Kaido noticed that his life became lighter and more meaningful. He no longer needed to prove anything to anyone, nor to compare himself to what others had achieved. The true measure of his success lay in his ability to live according to what was most important to his soul. What he discovered is that when you align with your values, happiness comes as a natural consequence. And, as Master Chun always said, there was no wiser path to follow than this. Knowledge alone is useless unless put into practice. Starting today, how about setting aside a few minutes of your day to practice mindfulness, silence the external noise, and begin listening to what your essence has to say? What will be the first decision you'll make, aligned with your true values? Don't wait for external validation, it will never bring the peace you seek. The time to change is now. If you want to continue this journey of self-discovery and learn more about how Buddhist teaching can transform your life, subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. Every new video will be an opportunity to take another step on this path towards true happiness and inner harmony. Don't wait. This is the first of many steps.